residents of the Lunar Crescent, it's SorenPlays. We're back again with another episode of Mythological Mondays. I know it's been a while since the last video. I've just been super busy and haven't had time to sit down and record these videos. There'll be 2 videos for Moonrise, and then this is being actually recorded after the video goes live of the next set, Firestorm. So I'm excited to delve into that when Firestorm gets released, what cards will be new, and what cards I can talk about mythology-wise. I know Hestia will be talked about and Hermes will be talked about. So those will probably be one of the very first videos I do. However, those videos won't go live till, I think, May is when Set 5 comes out. So it will be a while. But anyway, let's talk about Moonrise, the one you've all been waiting for. Alright, Moonrise is a pretty awesome group of cards, I will say. It's one of my favorite sets. I know I'm the Lunar Caster. I haven't been rocking Lunar this set, sadly. It's just because everyone else is on it and it's the Lunar aggro deck, and I just want to be different, so I'm running Wind. I know, it's weird, but we'll get into it. But Lunar has a lot of great cards. Alright, so first card of the set we're going to talk about is the Posthumous line. Now, Posthumous, you may be wondering why a moose and what its name means. Its name is a blend of posthumous and a moose. Posthumous means if something happens after someone dies. In this case, after a moose dies. Now you may be saying, how does a moose involve mythology? Now this one, at first I thought the exact same thing. Why? Why is it a moose? Because if you watched the speculation video, I figured it was going to be like a big stag, which is kind of what Theroheart is. But there's a reason behind it, and I'll get to that in a second. So the Posthumous line. Based in Greek mythology, it's one of the 12 labors that Hercules had to complete. It was his third, I believe. I could be mistaken. So the third task was a Cernaean hind, which was a creature that lived in Cernea, Greece, and took the form of an enormous female deer that was larger than a bull, with golden antlers like a stag. Instead of it had hooves of bronze or brass and a dappled hide that excelled in swiftness of foot, so it was super fast, and snorted fire. In this instance, I don't really see how it snorts fire, but you know, they like to do creative liberties. Now you may be saying, but how does a female deer be bigger than the male, which is a bull, in this case, not a cow with horns, that's used multiple times. So a lot of the theory behind that is it was a reindeer. Reindeers, the females have horns as well. And so Artemis found a group of 5 of these and used 4 of them to pull like her sleigh chariot, which is why the reindeer story comes into play. And the 5th one was used for the trial for Heracles. So the Cernaean hind was sacred to Artemis, and the hind is said to have been born with the inscription, dedicated to Artemis. Which is kind of interesting. I wonder where that would be. I wonder if that scenario would be where, if you look on the art, something sticking out of the ground like an arrow, maybe that is where it's supposed to be. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not an art expert or behind this what I think. So also the primary source translation says the creature was a doe, a hind, a deer, a hart, so like Theroheart, a stag or beast. So this is probably where they took their creative liberty of, well, what's like a stag, but isn't a stag, so we're not following it directly, and hence moose. Which I think is really cool that they decided to go the moose route. It was totally unexpected. I really appreciate it. Posthumous is really strong. We've seen them in a couple decks, but not a lot of Lunar decks right now are playing Artemis, because they're more playing the Lunar aggro variant. But if you get Posthumous out with Artemis, it's pretty devastating. I do have a few deck ideas that I'm kind of tempted to try out with this. We'll see how it works out. Next, we're going to the Volclips line. Sadly, one of the mascots of Moonrise that really gets no play whatsoever because its effect and deck is so hard to navigate because you don't have a lot of room for a lot of things. Like if you want to play all the lunar phases, you either don't have a lot of Elestrals or you don't have a lot of counter runes. And in this kind of metagame right now, back row is very important, and so is Elestrals. Otherwise, you're going to get curb stomped. But otherwise, Volclips is one of my favorite arts. It's a kitsune. So Volclips, its name breakdown is Vulpine, which is fox, and Eclipse, having to do with the lunar phases. I know you can't see my finger or whatever, but if you look on its tail, it has all the lunar phases. Well, it shows 5 of the lunar phases, but it's the main lunar phases that it shows. It doesn't show the other ones that kind of fall in between that are kind of repeating or whatever. Volclips is great. It gets +1 for each lunar phase amongst itself in the underworld. And then you can get 8 back with different titles in your deck to return an opponent's field to their end. Really power and devastating if you can get this off. I faced Volclips once or twice, but sadly they did not in time get all 8 of the lunar phases in, and I just sat on the field with a lunar aggro variety deck that I had with a Spectrus that had like 8 spirits on it under a stadium, so Volclips couldn't get over me. It was pretty devastating for my opponent till I was able to do something to get rid of it. So, how is this tied into lore? This is one of the few cards that deviate from the Greek mythology theme that a lot of Elestrals play with. This is more to Japanese lore. So, Kitsunes are broken down into 2 different categories. You have your good Kitsunes and you have your bad Kitsunes. So, they're known as trickster foxes from traditional Japanese folklore. They're a type of yokai, or demon, however you want to call it, a class of supernatural creatures with godlike powers. Often equated to the English ghoul or demon, which I kind of don't agree with, but for yokai purposes, yeah, they're usually ghouls or demons. Kitsunes are noted for their paranormal abilities, particularly metamorphosis. If you watch a lot of anime or read a lot of manga, a common trend amongst them is they like to shapeshift. They usually like to take the disguise of humans. They also take the disguise of, let me see, I have it somewhere in here on my notes. I guess I did not put it, but they like to transform into people and other animals in disguises. So one thing is, as Kitsunes age, they get more powerful. They are able to harness their powers better and they grow. Kitsunes are said to have lived for hundreds, if not thousands of years. They have shrines dedicated to Kitsunes. I think it'd be interesting if there was a card in the future for Volclips, like the shrine to dedicate to help turbo stuff out. I think that'd be really cool. So we've mainly talked about the good Kitsunes, but the bad Kitsunes, or the mischievous ones, are also known as Nogitsunes. Nogitsunes are the bigger tricksters. They like to trick people. I think the biggest example I've seen so far of a Nogitsune is Teen Wolf, the show that ended a few years ago. I don't remember if you remember, it was on MTV for the longest. It was a modern take on the 80s movies Teen Wolf. One of the seasons, and Nogitsune was one of the bad guys, which is kind of cool. Nogitsunes translate to wild foxes. So that was really cool that they're tying more mythology into things. Like I said, Kitsunes are my favorite. I hope this card gets more play in the future, but as of right now, it's just so hard. If the requirement was 8 lunar phases, it'd be a lot better. Now, if it was 5, because a lot of them are like repeating, I think it would have made it a lot better. But maybe it would have been too easy to do that at the same time, so I'm not sure. Next, we have the Phasmocore line. Now, this one is very short and simple because, once again, this is just another Nexus form of 2 other cards we've talked about in the past. It's the Nexus line for Gloombat and Boombat and Glimbat. Okay, 3 other times because this is the 4th one. So, of the Bat line, of the core line. So, it's a Phantasm for Phasma and Manticore for core. So, once again, this is just another one in the Nexus, so I'll just really go through this. It's a Nexus. It's once again based on Manticore. If you don't remember, it's a large mythical creature from ancient Persian mythology. So this one is one of the ones that deviate from Greek mythology, but Greek and Persian. One second. My phone decides to blow up as I'm recording a video, which is terrible. It should not be doing this, but it is just because. Okay, so Greek and Persian mythology kind of blend in a lot easier, so it's not too far of a stretch when you compare it to like Volclips that goes to Japanese. So it has the face of a human, the body of a lion, and the tail of a scorpion, or a tail covered in venomous spines, similar to porcupine quills. In this instance, that's more shown compared to some of the others. They're more lenient on the tail. In most instances, the Manticore is colored red or brown and has clawed feet. I don't remember if I've used this little sentence before, because if you compare to all the others, they're usually like brown. And you're wondering, well, this Manticore is different. However, it is colored red in the Stellar version. It looks like flesh and bone. So this is where that Manticore line comes into play for Phasmocore, where the Stellar version is colored red, so it continues with the Manticore theme, where it's not brown, but it is red in the Stellar version. Phasmocore is a pretty good card, easily destroyed though by Cryoblast, but it's an 8 attack beater that can come back in the end phase. I can actually see some instances where this would come in handy. However, to bring him back, it costs 3. So you're like, how does it cost 3? Well, his effect, when it's destroyed by battle, you expend 1, and then to bring him back, it's 2. So it's 3 every time. So like, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily worth it. It's unfortunate because all the other cores have seen a lot more play than this has. But who knows? Maybe someone's going to figure out a deck that'll run Phasmocore. Next, we have the main man of the Lunar aggro deck, Lycovoid. Lycovoid has caused a lot of issues for a lot of people. His effect is devastating. When you play a full moon during either turn, Lycovoid deals piercing damage, is unaffected by counter runes this turn. What you want to try to do is bait out the full moon on your turn, so your opponent's counter rune effects is not as devastating, doesn't involve piercing. Once again, can easily get popped by Cryoblast, but there's a lot of decks I've seen that do not have Cryoblast. So Lycovoid, like I said, deals piercing, is unaffected by counter runes. Pretty strong. So Lunar Phase allows you to enchant an Elestral on the field with up to 2 Lunar Spirits. So if you put it on a Werepup that special ascends into this after activating a full moon, you're putting 5 spirits on him. With piercing, that's 4 damage that one turn. And you can't stop it no matter what. It's pretty disgusting as a 6 attacker. Under a stadium with the 4 or a 5, he becomes like a 10 or 11 in one turn. It's disgusting. Hopefully they do something about this. I'm not saying limit Lycovoid, but like full moon can be pretty disgusting. Maybe limit full moon, but that's neither here nor there. So, Lycovoid. You break down its name. Lycan and Void. Lycan is a shorter form of Lycanthrope, which also means werewolf, in case you guys didn't know. It's the Nexus form of Impup and Lycavolt. It's funny to see that this card has seen more play than both of those. But we should be getting a titled version of these. I think not in this next set, because next set is Firestorm, which more focuses on fire and wind. But in the one after that, which will probably be Thunder and Water, if I would have to take a guess. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how they're going to figure which 2 elements are going to pair together. Maybe it's going to be Water and Solar, or Water and Lunar, because Water and Lunar has been paired well together before, and then Thunder and Solar. Maybe? I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there. This is just speculation on my part. So as I've talked about before when I talked about Impup and Lycavolt, it's based on a werewolf. So the Greek mythology story for this is there was a king in Arcadia named Lycaon, who in the most popular version killed and cooked his son and served him to Zeus to see whether the god was sufficiently all-knowing to recognize human flesh. He was testing Zeus. Zeus found out and was really mad, and then turned Lycaon and his sons into wolves. Hence, man turning into a wolf, so that's where the werewolf story was born. Pretty simple. Now, a card that I've faced and has caused issues, but still hasn't found its true niche, Tourney. Tourney is a really great addition. It's not really played in solar decks. It's more played in wind decks, which I find very interesting. I think in a solar deck, it would probably have more play than I would think than a wind, but neither here nor there. Just because you're playing like First Light and cards that allow you to search. So for Tourney, you can expend a wind or a solar in order to search your deck for 3 cards with different names. If you do, you add 1 at random to your hand and shuffle the rest into your deck. Pretty strong A2. Once again, Dice of Cryoblast. You know, they're trying to make these fair to where Cryoblast can easily pop these and make it easier for you to handle. But if you can't stop a Tourney, it just gets a ball rolling and you're just out of luck. So Tourney, when you break down its name, it means tornado and Djinn. Djinn, or genies, as they're more commonly known, are invisible creatures in early pre-Islamic Arabia and later in Islamic culture and beliefs. So this is an Arabic mythology aspect of things. Since jinns are neither inherently evil or innately good, they're acknowledged spirits from other religions and could adapt them during its expansion for Islam. I don't know if I agree with they're neither innately evil and inherently good, because the rule of thumb is for the wishes, you have to be careful what you wish for, because genies will literally take your wish at value and not the real meaning behind it. So I guess I can see how that would be neither inherently good or evil, but most jinns are known as evil because I played a lot of RPGs growing up and they're mostly evil. The only real good genie that we've had is Aladdin, which is kind of what this card is based off of, but I'll get to that in a second. So although usually invisible, jinns are supposedly to be composed of thin and subtle bodies. Well, in this case, it's air or wind, but that's why it's a wind solar. They favor a snake form, but can also choose to appear as scorpions, lizards, or humans. It'll be interesting if in the future we'll see titled versions of Tourney, where one's a snake, one's a lizard, or a human. I think that would be really cool. I know the Stellar is more based off of Jafar's evil genie from Aladdin. Jinns appear on charms and talismans for protection or magical aid, often under the leadership of a king. Many people who believe in jinn wear amulets to protect themselves against the assaults of the jinn, which once again contradicts that they're either inherently good or evil if you have to wear protection, but neither there. The best known use of the jinn, as I mentioned, is Aladdin, which is a Middle Eastern folktale. It is one of the best known tales associated with 1001 Nights, or also known as Arabian Nights for all you buffs out there. It was not originally part of the original text, but it was added by a Frenchman that was based on a folktale that he heard from a Syrian storyteller. So it's interesting to know that Aladdin is well known for being part of the Arabian Nights. However, it was not part of the original text. And that wraps up all the Elestrals that are based off of Greek mythology, or mythology in general. I don't know why I said Greek, I'm so used to it, but we're slowly expanding to other mythologies in other countries. It's really cool to see. Next episode, we'll be delving into the runes of Moonrise and what that means, and after that, we'll be going on another break till set 5 comes out. So once again, I want to appreciate you guys stopping by. If you enjoy these videos, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd gladly appreciate it. We're on the push to 500, which is one of my goals to be monetized, which I can then use the money from the channel back into the channel, whether it be upgrading anything, whether it be buying more cards for openings, anything I can do to support this channel. And I know leaving likes help push the algorithm, allowing this to get seen to other people. I would greatly appreciate it. This is SorenPlays signing off. Bye!